So the guy that's got the reindeer, what's his name?
Christoph.
Christoph.
The reindeer is Sven, who is also voiced by Christoph in the silly voice that my wife cannot handle the fact that he's basically just singing to himself.
Oh, yeah, that is weird.
Sven is not talking.
Yeah.
This guy's a fucking psychopath.
He's the best, though.
Okay, so let's record the intro now.
So what did... Milkless. Because I think we start with the name.
Two dads, we love our kids. But then we also need them to know that we're like pretty cool and it's not like a wimpy podcast. So, hey. Hey, Milkless.
Hey, welcome. Hey,
Milkless. Call the audience, Milkless. What's up, Milkless? Matt and Max coming at you.
What if that's it? That's our first take. Hey, this is part 2 of a fantastic conversation we had with Dr. Morgan Cutlip. If you're coming in hot on this one, go back and check out the previous episode. It's kind of one long conversation. Here we go. So, all right, I want to shift a little bit to ask you about something. So in your first book, you do talk some about attachment styles, and attachment theory is, I think, at the heart of like so much of the way we think about parenting and human beings now. It just seems like a really valuable thing to have in your tool belt of understanding the world. And with the 4 attachment styles are what? There's like anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, secure attachment, and disorganized attachment. Yeah. And I would say that I fall somewhere probably between secure attachment, because I was very lucky in my parents, and a little bit of anxious attachment for various reasons that I won't get into. The anxious attachment part of me is probably what makes me actually a pretty good equal partner in carrying the emotional burden of my family. Mm-hmm. The societal pressure on women to maintain a house is probably part of what makes them good at making sure there's soap in the soap. Mm-hmm. So often these things that are actually fucking hard on us and not really fair to us manifest in these behaviors that do get reinforced from the outside and can actually be helpful to the people around us. I don't even know what my question is. That just feels fucked up. Like how do you make sure you're doing it for the right reasons? You know, like it is a superpower to be empathetic and to really care for the emotional well-being of the people around you. But it's also this tremendous burden that taken to excess can mean that you never take care of yourself. Like, how do you think about striking those balances?
That's a big question. So I think that something that is at the core of what I believe about all relationships, including our relationship with ourselves, is that we actually never will permanently achieve like that final destination of balance. And I feel like when I say it, a lot of times like, well, yeah, of course. But like people think that there is a final destination of balance because we're always trying to achieve it. Like we're trying to achieve it in our diets and our workouts and how we run our home, if I get the right system, then I'll finally get there and everything will be perfect. And so I try to kind of demystify that, because when we expect to find balance and then we can't, we feel really crappy about ourselves. And then we just have more negative emotion to manage, and we just don't need more of that in our lives. So I think, first of all, I'll just say, like it's normal for our issues and our anxieties to lead to some sort of behavioral response to try to calm them and quell them. And sometimes these will go haywire and push us toward being severely out of balance, where to the point where maybe we are neglecting ourselves and we become burnt out. A lot of women become so burnt out, they develop physical issues, autoimmune diseases, off the charts for women. Yeah. It manifests in our relationships in that we start resenting the people that we love the most. It's like we are doing all the things to care for the people we love the most, but then we kind of treat them like crap, or like they're a bother to us because we're so weary. So I feel like it's an ongoing sort of like part of life that we just get good at being reflective, checking in. Hey, how am I doing right now? Am I taking this too far? Do I need to dial it back? I talked about intensive parenting. Sometimes we have to be intense parents because maybe our situation at the time requires that. But then after we're through the situation, can we check in and can we kind of dial some of these things back? So in my first book, I actually give moms a plan for how to check in and what you're checking in on. And then the second book, I give couples a plan. But I think you know, that's the big piece is like, hey, you're never going to be like perfectly all even. And then also get really good at just reflecting and then making some adjustments so you can kind of stay on top of this.
I have heard of mental health described not as like feeling good all the time, but as the ability to gracefully transition between states of being.
Yeah.
I also liked a lot, this really stuck with me from your first book, that when you look at your own stress or your own anxiety as a dysfunction or a fault or something when you should on yourself, something that you should not be feeling, then it compounds it. But when you actually look at your stress as an indicator and a motivator of the thing that needs your attention and is serving some function, the people who are able to do that actually have a less negative relationship with their own stress and end up feeling less stress in general as a result of it.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool idea because stress it just ain't going.
It's not going away.
It's not going away. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, there's actually, there's somebody did a TED talk on this. I can't remember her name, but, and then there's a ton of studies about our relationship with stress. So just like the overarching sort of outcome is basically like the way that we think about our stress. So if we think, oh no, I'm stressed and this is not a good thing and it's going to hurt my body and because we hear so much about how impactful stress is on our body, then we're more likely to experience those outcomes. But if we're like, you know what, my mantra is, I'm stressed out because I'm getting ready to do something important or I'm getting ready to do something meaningful. And my body is just doing what it's supposed to do. When we change our relationship with stress, there's actually several studies that even look at life, sort of like life expectancy. And when you relate to your stress differently, you live longer.
Yeah.
So just changing the way that you think about stress can impact the way that it actually shows up in your physiology, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. If you feel like you have agency, then
yes. Agency is a huge part of this.
It's not something that is you are a victim and you're suffering from this. It's like, oh, I still am in control here. And I think having that control or even the perception of control
100%
or agency is money.
Helplessness that's a hard way to feel. Yeah. I even think about that, Morgan, more broadly sometimes as stress means you're about to do something important. I mean, I definitely have like a consistent low grade stress level that is probably higher than it's been at any point in my life. But broadly, I am at probably the most interesting inflection point in my career. I have 2 kids who will both need me more than they will. Like, I am broadly doing probably a lot of the most important work that I will ever do in my life right now. So of course there's like that saying, pressure is a privilege, right? Like there's a connection between those 2 things that lets you look at the stress as not just like, why am I a basket case?
Exactly.
That feeling this way is going to kill me. Yeah.
And so, Morgan, what would you say for the listeners like who maybe don't have the best, communication? How often should we be chatting with each other, and or what are some good starter sentences, or just asking, hey, what's going on in your life? Like, what's overwhelming you? Trying to recognize things. I know I'm going to bring it up to my wife that like, thank you for doing the soaps for the last 20. We've been together for 21 years. 21 years. I'm like, I've never thought of it. Like the squirty soaps.
Oh
so
my
like,
gosh.
I'll probably get an eye roll, but also an appreciative for being recognized there. I mean, like for people who don't do it right now, what are some starter Where
to begin? Yeah. Okay, I'll give a couple things. So one is I have like an entire free guide to talking about the mental load for the first time, because I find that a lot of times, my community is primarily women, but a lot of times when women bring it up, their partners get defensive or it gets like competitive is something that happens a lot. So I have a free guide. I don't know if you guys can link it or something, but
yeah, we'll link it in the show notes.
Sure.
It kind of helps navigate common roadblocks to having this conversation. So that's one avenue, is like just get in there and you start talking about it, get on the same page with what it is. And if any of that stuff comes up, hopefully this helps you. It has like scripts and all sorts of stuff in it. The partners who are like, well, I want to do better, but I don't even know where to begin. There's questions you can ask that can actually go a long way. So one is really simple, which is, what's on your plate today? This is like the most straightforward question. But actually, if you unpack how it's helpful, it helps the partner who's not maybe carrying the bulk of it get into their partner's world so that they have a better knowledge of what's happening just for that day. So it's really contained. And then the idea is then you can step in and take initiative in some of these things. So if your partner's like, well, so I got da-da-da-da-da-da, and they list all the things, they can say, well, hey, I can do this and this. Like, would that be helpful to you? I think for partners who, are trying to take more initiative, the biggest thing you can do is just start to increase your knowledge of what happens in the home and the family life. So this helps you increase your knowledge.
And then to your point, then by having that knowledge, seeing what you can pick off. Because Matt and I have talked about it on previous episodes. We had Caitlin Murray on and we talked about this very similar thing that like,
I love her.
Yeah, we were like, I want to get in there, but like the grocery list is related to the meal planning, which my wife actually is very good at and is thinking that's going to take a longer time to get in and understand and plan those meal things together. But sports, those are very easy to kind of carve off. And it's like, oh, she was also managing shin guards and uniforms and planning that out. So little things you can carve off.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, do half of the grocery shopping. Well,
it's not really helpful.
It's not really. Yeah.
You got to divide and conquer. So,
and I think it's fine. Like, I'm a big believer that it does need to be 50-50. It needs to feel fair. And so, like, it's fine if you're good at some stuff and she's good at other things. Like, I don't think you all need to be masters of it all. And so it's like, if sports is easier, take sports. She does the meal prep. That's totally fine.
This is reminding me. So we rewatched Frozen 2 recently.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Frozen films.
I'm very familiar with the Frozen films.
Aren't we all so familiar with
them? I think the music in Frozen 2 is...
I love the music. You're like so lost good. In the woods. And it's so good.
Oh, yeah.
Don't do that to us.
You got it. It's a little spooky, isn't it?
It's going to be with me all day.
Sorry.
Okay.
Totally. So there's this scene. So the guy that's got the reindeer, what's his name?
Christoph.
Christoph.
The reindeer is Sven, who is also voiced by Christoph in the silly voice that my wife cannot handle the fact that he's basically just singing to himself.
Oh, yeah. That is weird.
Sven is not talking.
Yeah.
This guy's a fucking psychopath.
He's the best, though.
So one of the gags of the second movie is that Christoph wants to propose, but he is not a romantic. Like, he never knows. He's always saying the wrong thing. He's always like, he can't quite get it. And then towards the end of the movie, there's like boulders flying at Anna. She's in all kinds of trouble. And suddenly he just gallops up on Sven and just grabs her and says, I'm here. What do you need? And I looked over at my wife, and the look on her face was frankly like a little thirstier than I wanted it to be. I was like, but like just those words, like, I'm here. What do you need? Like, that's a pretty good way to start a conversation. Yeah. And I was like, yeah. And I think I said something like, he can be romantic. And my wife was like, yeah. It's like, all right, okay, settle down. But I do think
it
that,
easy
like,
back there, guys. Christoph, you're saying that yourself out of this corner of your mouth. You psycho.
You weirdo. But yeah, I think that that's like a pretty good way to approach it for a guy. It's just like, I'm here. What do you need?
Yes.
This episode is brought to you by Milkless, by Matt and me. Max, we're making this for you. We're self-sponsored. We don't want anything from you other than this one small ask. Can you send this podcast to a friend or someone you think might enjoy it? Now, when you suggest that they listen to it, you must qualify it, because if you tried to send me a parenting podcast that, hey, you got to listen to this parenting podcast, I tell you to go fuck yourself. So you need some qualifier in there to let them know, why do you listen? Why do you like Milkless?
I tell you what, my aunt, who's a therapist, just shared it with like a group of 8,000 therapists, because somebody posted a question looking for. So, that's your bar. If you can just share it with like 8,000 or 9,000 people, that'd be a big help for us.
That'd be great. Thanks. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. I have two more. I got two more ideas.
Okay, give it to me.
If you want more questions.
Yeah.
Okay, but I really love that tangent. Okay. Another one is, where did you need more support today, but you didn't get it?
Ooh, yeah.
That is a good question. Again, it's like getting in their world. What's their perspective? And also, we all prefer support differently. Some people are cool being like, what do you need? And then we just tell them. And some are like, I shouldn't have to tell you. And they get kind of flustered about that. There's like that whole camp of people.
Yeah.
Sometimes like for me, my husband is like really, I always say like, you're so good at working in the relationship, but you're not great at working on the relationship. So he's always like, he's just doing. Like if he thinks I'm bothered, like he'll just start doing more things. And I'm like, that's not what I need. I just need you to like give me a hug. So learning how your partner actually needs that support becomes really powerful when you guys are dealing with stressful situations, especially. And then the third question is, what is something you took care of today that nobody saw?
Yeah.
That just makes something invisible visible and offers an opportunity for appreciation and acknowledgement, which is a huge desire.
Yeah.
When I did a survey with, you guys did my interview, which was awesome, but I surveyed 536 women, and the second most desired thing they want from their partners is just more appreciation and acknowledgement. And that's so easy to give. So
Yeah.
Well, honestly, when you
The
were saying
fucking
those,
soap, Max,
Yeah,
is
I know.
what I did
Talk about the
today. I
soap.
filled the
I'm going to
soap.
bring it up. I'm going to bring it up. But honestly, when you were saying that, Morgan, I was picturing a man saying it to his wife, and I was just like, man, that guy's fucking awesome.
yeah.
Like,
That
She
guy's
was
a
like-
real Christoph.
yeah, and like,
So-
and
so
also
real
that's why I
Christoph
see why your
move.
book, your second book, is like also about like, you know, reigniting the bedroom or something.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if a guy says that wholeheartedly and engages with the partner and is like, and she feels seen, I mean, come on,
Come on.
that's
Yeah. Come
Yeah.
on.
Come on. Women want they want their guys to be reliable. Are you there for me? Can I depend on you? Can I trust you? If you show up, like it changes so much.
well. To your point, what you were saying, like about how a lot of times the man will get defensive. It's because we are subconsciously or consciously protecting our lack of need to do the soap. It's like, oh man, if I open that Pandora's box,
If I know about it.
yeah, it seems like a lot. It's better to just kind of, you know, maybe diminish that and say, oh, you know, whatever, like I'm working hard. And a lot of times guys are working 2 doubles and they come home and their body is wrecked and whatever. We're not talking about those.
I'm not talking about you guys.
Like we're talking about a lot of times the man and the woman are working equal hours.
Yeah.
And then the woman's coming home and
And doing all that stuff.
doing the soap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, another thing that you said a lot of times, reasons the guy will get defensive. Another thing that really stuck with me from your first book is that idea that a lot of times what your partner needs is just more of a thing that you may already be doing.
Yes.
Because I think that can be such a reason for defensiveness.
Yeah.
Hey, babe, what do you need? I need this, but I already do that.
I do that. It's
Like,
never enough for
I
you.
do that, bro. What's yeah, but it's like, no, you do. But even more would be great. Would be great and would
Yeah.
change a lot of things. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah. And also, but like society, what we were saying before, society, for better or worse, if the house is in order and it's clean and it's neat and the kids are showered and they're not eating corn for breakfast and they're having, you know, the soaps are filled, then the woman can feel proud because if House Beautiful showed up, they'd be like, wow, what a great house. You know, Mrs. Cutlip, you're amazing. You know, the guy's not going to get any credit for that, which is fine. So doing some of these things that are like intrinsic, back in the day, it was like chopping wood or being the breadwinner back in the 1920s. It's like we're shifting where, I don't know, that's what's hard for me is doing the soaps gives me nothing. But like the only reason I would really do it is because I love my wife and I want to help her I honestly could just.
You just never wash your hands again. Yeah.
She doesn't want to do it either. I feel like
Yeah.
that, like she might get more value or reward from it, I guess. But it's like, I think that's part of it is that we don't want to do a lot of the stuff that we do either. It's just that it's like somebody's got to do it. And I think when you said like the only reason is because I love my wife, I'm like, that's a good enough reason.
Yeah.
That's a good enough reason because you love each other. And like part of our jobs in our relationship is to love each other in the ways that they need to be loved and to care for them and to think about, imagine in a relationship if we each put each other's needs a little bit higher than our own, it'd be like perfect relationship. We wouldn't really have any issues because you'd be thinking about each other. So that's a good enough reason.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to do the things.
Yeah, nobody wants to do the things.
Yeah.
I filled the soap the other day. I was like, it wasn't like, yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
No, but it was
I pumped on empty for like a week before I did it. I don't want to do this.
every pump, the shame pump. See, I have no
I'm
shame
sure my hands are clean enough.
because you get a little bit. You get a little bit for that week.
Gosh. Yeah.
A little spit,
get
a little
spray.
mist.
Oh my god. Well, look, we're close to time. I want to be respectful of what I'm sure is a very busy day for you. Max was one to ask this. I don't care, but Max really wanted to know because you interviewed us for the book. Did we make it?
You're in the book.
We're in the book.
I didn't write your names. It's all anonymous.
We made the book.
But yeah, you guys were amazing. Well, you guys are a little so thoughtful, reflective about this topic, which is not the norm. And so you had wonderful quotes. I felt you were really open about how you shared about it, and just even like the times you'd butt up with some defensiveness and stuff still. So you're in it. Yeah, you're both
All
in
right.
it.
Max didn't really want to know. I was just throwing him under the bus. I was just being a dick.
I had no question.
All right. Well,
didn't
yeah,
doubt it.
Max knew. He's like, we're in the book. Thanks so much for your time. And for, I think that in everything I've seen from you, you do a really good job of earnestly trying to help people take steps that will improve their life without shaming them, men or women, for the things that are hard. And I think that like, that's a pretty tricky balance beam.
Yeah.
That people fall off a lot on social media, particularly. So I just think what you're putting out in the world is only good. It doesn't come with that like downside of like shooting all over everybody. So thanks.
Oh, I mean, that's my goal. So that's just like the best compliment. So thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, this is great.
Awesome having you on. If anyone wants to check her out on social media, it's Dr. Morgan Cutlip is her Instagram handle. We're going to link the guide for how to talk about the mental load.
And book 2 available for pre-order now, right?
Yeah, available
get
for
in on it.
pre-order. Yeah, A Better Share. And then my first book is called Love Your Kids Without Losing Yourself.
Get in there.
Yeah.
Well, we'll put those in there too.
Yeah, there's going to be all these links, y'all, and you're going to want them all. All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
What do you buy? Violet Archer.